Let's see who's sponsoring tonight's Hazmat Guys Roundtable. Hazmat 101 Consultants. Hazmat 101 Consultants and their instructors can provide quality consulting and virtual or in-person hazardous materials training for your agency. Owner and lead instructor Bob Cascignano is also available for lecturing at your fire or hazmat conference and has in fact done many speaking engagements across the country. Visit their site at www.hazmatconsultants.com or email Bob Cascignano at bob@hazmat101consultants.com. For over 20 years, K&R Plaques have had the pleasure of helping clients choose awards for the people they want to honor. Their state-of-the-art equipment allows clients to design, customize, and personalize the awards they choose for that special someone. With one of the largest selections of plaques, awards, trophies, and clothing apparel, they can deliver quality products to satisfy any customer needs. No order is too big or too small. Visit their website at www.knrplaques.com or email at sales@knrplaques.com. Responder Training. RTE is the leading company in delivering propane training along with emergency response equipment. Responder Training has many propane flaring kits, water injection kits, accessories, and replacement parts available. They also sell the only commercially available 1-inch propane flare kit, appropriately named the Dragon Slayer, because size does matter. Contact our good friend, owner instructor Ron Huffman for more information. You can reach him at 765-524-4848. You can email Ron at respondertraining.rdh.gmail.com or peruse his website at respondertraining.com. Northeast Hazmat has your supplies for leaks. Easy vac pumps, stingers, hoses, rupture seals, and now carrying fire blankets and hazmat apparel. If you'd like to sponsor the show and help keep live hazmat conversations coming in the future and help send at least one lucky participant to a national level hazmat conference, send an email to bob@thehazmatguys.com and he'll send you the information. Thanks a lot. Now on with the show.
Hello, everybody out there in internet land, the interwebs. We are back. The Roundtable, the Mind Trust Consortium. We're back, and we're talking about hazmat. I am Bobby Salvesen. I am, let me see if I'm pointing the right way, Bob Cascignano. And then, continuing, it's Jay-Z and the Kang. And then Mike Monaco, depending on when you put the emphasis.
Yep.
Welcome.
I hear all. Hello, everybody. Good to see everybody this week. I feel like it's only been a few weeks since I saw you last, yet here we are.
Yes,
it keeps coming up.
In a couple of weeks, somebody has hair on their head.
Yes, except for one spot.
Oh, I thought it was me.
Yeah, no, I'm highlighting my Jewish roots.
Awesome.
How's everybody doing? All right?
Absolute great.
Awesome.
Good.
All
Good
is
to
well.
hear.
September is in. The weather's getting a little bit chilly here in New York, and it's time to move on to the next great topic of the evening.
I will say I haven't worn shoes in almost 3.5 months.
Are you going to Mike Monaco?
Would you like to tell us why?
Well, there was times I didn't wear shoes at work, but I've worn flip-flops every single day, regardless of where I've been going. Oh, this is a formal event. I'm like, I don't care. I'm not wearing shoes.
Listen, my sister's wedding was a couple weeks ago, and I wore shoes for the ceremony, and then I was barefoot at the catering hall the rest of the night. I went trailer park trash all the way.
That's all right. That's okay.
But you got Crocs for every occasion, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I even have station Crocs. I have. I don't wear the Crocs at the conference anymore. I have to be very upset about that.
Yeah. I had to say, I was like, Mike, come on.
Should have stuck with it.
I've never put a pair of Crocs on, so
well,
I don't even know what they're like.
Which actually, we were just talking about before the show. Massachusetts is coming up very soon, like
2 weeks.
next 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Yeah.
Literally, we'll be in Massachusetts in 2 weeks.
Yeah, everybody's gonna be there. So all the cool kids will say are gonna be there.
Not I.
No,
I will not be there.
Like Bob said,
All the cool kids will be there. 3 of the 4 of us will be there.
which is sad. Why will you not be in Massachusetts? What the Plymouth Pebble will miss you.
I believe I will be in New York, attending my daughter's wedding.
That's not
well,
acceptable.
That's
kind of important, a little bit.
Yeah.
Not for us.
It's a short, 4-hour drive?
Yeah. It
On-
was
on
a
smooth highway too. It's easy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no traffic.
Yeah,
yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely.
socks and Crocs. Ron Huffman's throwing out socks and Crocs. No, we're not doing socks and Crocs. That's off the table right here.
Rock out with your croc out, baby. That's what I always.
Anywho, what are we talking about tonight?
I don't even know now.
Well, with the conferences
education
and
or
stuff coming
something.
up, yeah, we were going to do a stint on education. We were going to talk about what makes a good student, what makes a good instructor, and we definitely have got a lot to chime in on this. And I think today might be more of a rant on shitty instructors.
Oh,
and it will be actually learning how to be a good instructor. But if you give us a moment to get this off of our chest, we could actually give you a few pointers on how we approach a classroom.
Can I go first?
Yes.
Only because I have a member in the Koshik Nano organization, and there's a lot, 300 of us out there.
Crime
That is
family.
Well, we don't talk about that. You know what I mean? But it was attending a class recently, and the instructor read every word off the slide. I said to this person, just stay away from my gun. I don't want you to kill yourself. Just pay attention, do what you can. And this individual said it is the worst thing I've ever experienced in my life.
You should be allowed to smack that instructor in the face with a textbook. Like, just as a general rule of thumb, any rank, any occasion, hard textbook, you just smash them in the face while they're in the middle of their lecture.
Anybody that's really
go ahead.
Anybody that's really into presenting, like if you're really like a student of the art of presenting, you probably have read a couple of books on like either presenting or creating a PowerPoint. And I will say that I have yet to find one where they're like, no, write as much as you want up there. Yeah. It's always like it's a 4x6 or a 6x4. It's 4 words on 6 lines or 6 words on 4 lines, and that's it. Yeah, but I got more to put on there. No, you don't.
No, you don't.
Or here's an idea: put all the words up on the PowerPoint that you need, and then don't use the PowerPoint.
Shut it down, baby.
Because you know the information.
That's why you're there.
You're right.
You know, I got to say, I know Bob talked about shitty instructors. I enjoy actually watching shitty instructors because it actually gives me some ideas.
Dude, I told you I was sorry.
What to do and what not to do. So I like it because it gives me as much ideas as watching a really good instructor. And that's, I look at that and I go, okay, I got to remember not to do that.
Even the good instructors, I watch things and I cannot tell you how many times we've done that show, You Suck at Teaching Hazmat.
Dude, that's one of your best classes. That's great.
Dude, it is so much fun. And then
so awesome.
Other instructors come in to listen to it and they go, I didn't even know I was doing that. And now I am so self-conscious. I'm like, I'm standing on the wrong side of the screen. I don't say the things the right way. I was like, oh no.
When we do that class, I try really hard not to make eye contact with the people in the audience because I never want somebody to think I'm specifically talking about them.
That's hard to do.
Not only you suck. You do. You suck.
Right. The rest of you guys
man.
are okay. No, this is specific at you right here in this chair in front of me.
Or the best part is when they're reading the stuff and they read it so fast that you don't know what they say, and what they said, and two is because they don't know what the hell that is.
I love the guy that instructs above or below the class. The guy that's like, I am so freaking amazing that I'm going to talk to you buffoons and let me lather this on thickly for you. Or the guy that's talking to like PhDs and he's like, I can't swim here. I don't know really what I'm doing.
We talk to a lot of firefighters. It's really hard to talk below them. Unless I'm up there being like, okay, stay in the lines. Here's the crown.
I really hate the guy that talks above the guys. Oh.
All right. So what are some? Right. So the four of us have seen the four of us teach. Right. We all have different styles and different methods. So let's go through and take like each one of us one or two techniques that are kind of specific to yourself, how you came to that to inherit or develop that technique. And if somebody wanted to or was like, oh, I really love the way Bob does this, how could they start to get themselves to that point? We'll start with Salvo. What would be a technique of yours that you're like, you know what, this is a staple in my lecture. This is how I got here. This is how I develop it.
I would say the grounding concept in my entire presentation, like no matter where and it translates into the show, onto the podcast, everything, is that a spoonful of sugar makes the medicine go down. Hazmat chemistry is not the sexiest thing, but if I can make it funny and associate it with a funny haha laugh, it's more apt to go down and reside in there for a little longer than it would have if you like, I just have to turn the screws and listen to this crap. And so I think the art of associating some quick quips, some funny ha-has, an anecdotal way of doing something funny makes people remember that whole idea so much. It's ingrained them. It's not like I have to recall it. It's part of them. That's me.
Yeah. And there is actually, when it comes to adult learning, there is actually scientific data that backs up that style and that technique. When an adult is learning, especially material that is very dry, there are two things that help combined to concrete those thoughts in the mind and remember them. One is laughter, and believe it or not, the other is offensiveness. So if you are,
I believe that.
if there is something that is offensive mixed in with that material, the adult learner remembers that material better. So excellent techniques. All right, Kosh, what about you?
So first off, Logan just said, real world experience examples is a good thing, and I agree 100%. I'm very animated. I think probably because I don't know, I'm Italian, maybe.
Okay.
Hey, how you doing?
Ming.
I got 5 fingers, but I talk with tree. But I'm animated, and I got the hands going, but I'm also moving back and forth a little bit. Not too much, but I'm trying to keep people's attention, but I'm always looking across the room to see if I'm hitting everybody or if I've got this.
Oh, yeah.
And if I got this in the back, I'm like, all right, I might need to change something up a little bit. But I try to stay animated, meaning, the hands and the voice and what have you, and moving around just a little bit so that they're not just focused in, and that's just a quick little thing.
Okay. Excellent. And yeah, moving around, changing pitches and tones in your voice, all different ways to keep the adult brain from entering a monotone state of just dullness.
Right.
Yes. Perfect.
Jeff, what do you got?
Well, I have two things that I like to incorporate when I'm instructing or presenting, I should say, is I too like to use a lot of real world experience and some laughter in it. And I actually put in stuff. I'll say stuff that we did wrong. I'll say something about, hey, we learned this bad on our part, but it kind of gives a little bit of life to what I'm talking about. And then I like to put in funny stories, just to like Bobby does, just to keep the audience in tune. But one thing I really like to do to keep everybody kind of engaged and make them feel part of the class is I like to ask questions. I will say something, and I know, they're not. I don't like to put tough ones out there because I don't want to be the guy that is throwing a question out and hoping nobody answers so I can act like the smart one. I think that's ridiculous. But what I do is I throw a question out there, and even if they're off base, I won't tell them you're wrong. I'll just say something like, yeah, perhaps, but I was looking more in this direction. Because if you say something to that person, say, no, you're wrong, he'll never ask another question again. And he'll never raise his hand. Yeah,
I do. I go,
totally shut down.
yeah, you suck.
No.
What the hell are you doing in my class? Get out of here.
You're laughing at that, but when it comes to people being wrong in the class, I actually take a very opposite approach, but I add the humor in it where, I'll be like, okay, what are your thoughts? I'm like, yeah, no. Nope, totally wrong.
Completely wrong.
That's completely wrong. But in such a way that's fun that I make it okay for somebody to be wrong. Like it then becomes, oh, it's okay to answer the wrong question in this class. Like that's okay. And it happens so much, and I'm trying to pull people into the conversation that people are going to say ridiculous things and. Yeah. It's okay to say ridiculous things because it comes part of the joke and the enjoyment of the atmosphere of the class.
Well, I think what you're doing in a different way than what I'm doing is you're making the classroom comfortable, which is really what the idea is. Everybody, everybody's there to learn, and they want to feel comfortable. They want to engage. They want to be able to ask questions and not be. I don't think you do what I've seen people do where they're like, "No, you're wrong."
I don't degrade.
Right.
I'll self-deprecate humor myself. Right. So that's one of the big things that I do to make the class comfortable in exchanging ideas, because I want a conversation. Right. I am a conversation-based teacher. I prefer not to even have the PowerPoint on unless it's for reference, and I want to have a conversation. And the only way to do that is to elicit a back and forth. So if I can make fun of myself and I can show all of my faults and all of my wrongs, then everybody becomes so comfortable in conversing back and forth in the conversation that there no longer is I feel weird for talking. And that is one of the things that I focus on, is trying to incorporate the entire classroom into a conversation that becomes less about a PowerPoint and more about a free flow of information back and forth.
And you guys brought up a good point about, talking about an incident or something that went wrong. And that's one of the things we've tried to put in our classes of late is, we're great at beating our chest and we did such a great job, blah, blah, blah. But we don't talk about our failures. Thereby, nobody's learning from them. And I think once you talk about a failure or something that maybe wasn't a failure but didn't quite go that right, it brings everybody's guard. It opens them up to where they're not as guarded. I don't want to say anything because I want to look like an idiot. Oh, you mean these guys messed up? And it kind of puts them a little more at ease, where they're a little bit, more willing to engage in the class.
Dude, if every story that you're telling went right, there wouldn't be classes.
No.
Right.
No,
you know what I'm saying? Like,
you listen to some guys and you think they have never screwed up. And I'm sitting over here and I'm like, oh shit, man, I don't even know if I've done anything right in my career. Nevertheless, like, not ever screwed up. I mean, like, people tell stories of great things, and here I am like, well, one time I was at a overturned tractor trailer and I'm staring at the saddle tank and I'm thinking at 3:00 in the morning, hey, I wonder if this thing has fuel in it. So the gas cap is staring me in the face. I decided to take the gas cap off and check the tank. And like, just as I go to turn it, because in my head, I'm like, well, I'll just check if some fluid drips out. I'll just tighten the gas tank. Well, now I'm in a diesel shower and instantly realized my mistake. And I'm like, gee, like I'm fucking shit, man. I can't do anything right.
Well, I've prefaced a couple of classes I do. I tell them that, hey, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to throw all my dirty laundry out there because that's how we all learn. Yep. And I said, I'm going to tell them, hey, you'll hopefully remember this in the presentation that I did and go, oh, I remember that. I'm not going to do that. So I always tell them, hey, there's good and bad and there's ugly in all of them. It's just a matter of, will you let that information out? So
I'm gonna kind of blow this whole thing up, and I'm gonna pull back the curtain a little bit. Is one of my major techniques, and one of the things I highly advocate for instructors is they're always looking for that great war story that they can throw out there. And I tell the truly initiated and talented guys, I'm like, come here, let me tell you a little secret. The war stories are totally BS. They're like, what? I'm like, listen, do you ever see the freaking movies on the TV? It's like based on a real story. Right. That means nothing, and it's true. It's just like there was a guy in a place at this time. That's it. That's and it. Even that might not be true. So I'm like, if you want the story go from A to C, build B so it's perfect. I'm like, there is nothing worse than you saying, so there I was. It was the fourth story, and there was fire coming out the left. And one guy goes like this, goes, I was there, and that's not what happened. And you're like, oh, shit.
That's why you always got to check your audience before you tell stories.
But you're never wrong when you make up the story. And I'm not saying this stuff I say is totally BS. I'm just saying when you're in the middle of a class or you're designing a class, don't be hooked on like, I don't have the perfect story. What am I going to do? Fabricate it.
Yeah.
That's pro level, bro.
Because the object, right? We always have to remember the object is to get the student to remember the material when they leave the class.
That's it.
Right? That is the only goal, right? I know there are some people that are like, well, we have to look professional. We have to do this. And believe me, like I've been almost kicked out of conferences for my language, but people remember the information walking out of the class. And if that can save them one day, then so be it. I really don't care. But it is all about whether it's an entertainment, whether it's a conversation, whether it's making them feel comfortable. There's a way to get people to remember the classroom, and reading off PowerPoints and just doing a lecture that has zero love in it, which is the only way I can really describe it, is horrible. And I always tell people that are beginning to teach, because they get nervous, right? They're really, really nervous. And I got this from watching stand-up comedians, and you're listening to stories and how they come, and they always say you can't do well unless you bomb. Like you have to have a few of those classes where you gut wrench away from the class and you're like, that was the most awful feeling in the world I've ever had. Because only then have you pushed yourself far enough to be able to grow in your ability to teach.
So Mike, I don't know if you remember at the Michigan conference, we were talking about, Bobby, we were talking about the knowing your audience. We were talking in our class about that tanker that exploded in the middle of the parking lot. And we were talking about that in the class, and there's three guys that are snickering and find out at the end of the class. So they go, yeah, that was our call. Yeah. We were there. And I go, and I was in the class going, oh, you guys did a great job. And they're like, yeah, you don't really know the whole story. Do you remember that? And then we talked about that, that's interesting that knowing your audience and that people they're telling a story and they're like, yeah, they didn't want to actually say anything in class because they were like, I'm just going to leave it at that. You guys said we did a good job, so we'll leave it at that.
Yeah. Because it's a weird thing, right? In a small group of people we know, like we have a job, we come back to the firehouse, we're okay talking about our flaws and what we did, what we messed up, and then suddenly we get into like the public realm, and it's like, whoa, we can't Can't talk about how we screwed that up.
Because people get so conditioned not to speak on social media or and anything. You get fired for that shit.
I know.
Well, we don't want to look like idiots either.
We don't want to look like idiots, right? So it's that fear that is keeping us from doing it. I think shows like this, like the podcast and the set of instructors that are kind of breaking the ground to be able to say, no, man, like we are learning from our mistakes. Like don't at the Phoenix Fire Department, right? Famously known for literally making tragic events the most publicly known events throughout the community.
Yeah.
Like that is a phenomenal thing. And we can learn so much more from mistakes than we can by being like, no, this is done perfectly every time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So let me ask you guys this. Audiences. Have you ever had tough audiences? Have you ever had times when you're feeling like, man, this just ain't going right? What do you do to control your audience? And that maybe not control your audience, but just kind of play to what's happening with them. And what do you do when you're just completely bombing and you're like, I don't know if I can put this back on the tracks, but I'm going to try.
I don't know how many people out there that think that like nobody, when you get that good, you don't bomb. Everybody bombs. Everybody bombs, no matter who you are. I'll give you my two quick ones is if I'm bombing and I have time, I'll call a break to reset. If I'm bombing and I don't have time, I will veer off onto a side road and just riff. And when I get them back where I want it, we'll go back to the content. That's my move.
I acknowledge it and bask in the awkwardness of it for a few moments. And somehow
I can only imagine.
That seems to like then everybody's like, yeah, man, those jokes sucked. Or like, yeah, no, you were really, really boring. And I'm like, was this boring? Like, am I doing yeah, dude, you're doing all right.
Yeah.
All right, give me a moment to get back on track. And then, I try to take the material from a different point of view. But now I've kind of like woken them up because who the fuck acknowledges that that they suck standing up there? So they're like, who's this guy? Then I start to make sure I'm doing the eye contact. I start to make sure I'm talking to specific people and then really pulling them and start engaging. And I literally just acknowledge the fact that I'm having a shitty day. And I'm bombing and we're going to start over.
Well, that's where you do those little things, like you make sure that there's strong coffee, you make sure the room is frigid cold so everybody's awake. You help them develop their Stockholm syndrome so they're in your corner, like all those little things.
Yeah. I feel the same way. I do the same thing. I just acknowledge what's happening. I try to tell them, okay, I got to get back on track here, getting a little off. But hey, it's the same thing with our hazmat stuff. Sometimes it doesn't go as we plan it. So I just got to own it and go with it.
I usually just blame Derek.
Yeah,
perfect.
He's the perfect scapegoat.
I do too.
That's why you always have a second instructor.
Always gotta have two instructors.
Yeah,
Blame
just look at him and go.
else.
I look at Daryl. I go, what the fuck's up with you, man?
This guy screwed it up. It was supposed to be done last night.
God, he's just supposed to get coffee. That's it.
I will say though, teaching with somebody else, like Derek and I teach a lot together. We're good at feeding off each other when we go, okay, he's drowning or he's getting too long-winded or whatever. And I don't mean he isn't Derek, but either one of us, that we feed off each other and pick up and start going in the other direction. So that kind of helps. All of a sudden you're watching this guy and he's bombing and then this guy jumps in and now it's back on track again.
Yeah, we had that when me and Bob used to do a lot of the shows together. We had gotten that kind of rapport where it was like a back and forth, like Hazmat, Beavis and Butthead, just back and forth and back and forth. It was great.
We're the two old guys in the Muppets. We tell everybody that.
I love it. I love it. It's so good.
What about the student that's in the back, like this, and you're like, oh, this guy, that's the know-it-all guy. That guy, you
That's easy.
How do you handle that guy?
You walk back there, you sit next to him, and you have a conversation with him.
Right in the middle of class.
I am not even kidding. I am not even kidding. I will literally walk back. I will sit out. I'll sit on the table right next to him if he's got a free seat, and I'll be like, "All right, man, what are your thoughts on this? Like, talk to me. Like, what do you think?"
See, I'm a lot more underhand. I'll go and change the Wi-Fi password during breaks. Like I'll go and do stupid stuff. I will go and do ridiculous things. Oh, I will break a pencil off in the lock so he can't get out of some way. I will do such stupid stuff just to annoy him. And when they go, "Why is all this stuff happening?" Like, because you're sleeping in class.
All right, kids. Note to self. Don't sleep in Savo's class.
I use phones, newspapers, magazines. I never start my class off by being like, "Okay, no cell phones, no newspapers, eyes on me," because
that's ridiculous. Yeah.
Well, because I use them as gauges. Like, there's no more natural gauge as to whether or not I am connecting with my classroom than to see how many people are on their cell phones or how many people are in the newspapers. Because if they're in the newspaper and they're on the cell phones, that means I'm not doing a job of entertaining. Because let's be real, right? Being an instructor is part being an entertainer. Right. So instead of being pissed off at the student for picking up a newspaper, being like, "Hey man, like, I'm up here teaching, why are you on your phone?" That's my fault that student is on the phone. That's not his fault. That's my fault. So now I got to figure out how to engage better. What am I doing wrong that I'm not engaging the student the way that I should be engaging them? So
I think that's a good perspective. I think that's, that is true. I mean, obviously you got those people that don't want to be there, but maybe you're not connecting with them, and
you're not connecting with them,
and you're going to try. Story. Yeah, and you're going to try to do whatever it is to connect with him. I mean, not to go off road and just focus on him, but yeah, you're going to try and get him back. And I try to do the same thing. I'll notice him that maybe he's not paying attention or whatever, and I'll just go, "Hey, so and so, what's your thought on this?" And kind of try to bring him back in. And then if that doesn't work, I just start juggling.
Right.
But I've had guys that was so bad that they were so disruptive. My first move will be stand literally next to them. I call it the Thanksgiving technique, because when you're going to go to Thanksgiving dinner, you're going to have a fight with the family. You don't sit across the table. You're guaranteed to go to fisticuffs. You sit right next to him, and all of a sudden that bark gets very quiet. And so if I teach on his shoulder or her shoulder, then they get very silent all of a sudden, and it goes away. And if that doesn't fix it, on the break, I just grab him by the freaking ear and I go, "What's the problem, punk?"
I've had to do that. I've had to do that before.
Yeah.
But now here's a new one for the tech type people. How many times have you had a student in the class that has their little laptop out and they say, "Oh, I'm taking notes"? Are they taking notes, or are they just screwing around?
Look at this shit.
How do you deal with that?
Well, you deal with that by having a conversation. And then, so when you're, if you're the type of instructor that's going to lay a foundation and then add another layer of bricks and then stitch information together and connect dots, you use that moment to be like, all right, the dots should have been connected. If they were paying attention, they've connected the dots. So now I direct a question at that person.
At that person, yep.
And making it clear, it should be something that they know and understand. And when they can't answer it, that awkward moment is enough for them to realize that they weren't paying attention.
Right. See, I airdrop naked photos of Jay-Z to him, and I go,
"Oh, by the way, do you need some more?"
Yeah, I do. I need a fresh batch because they're getting old. Bro.
I got some great ones.
People are like, "Why did he have naked photos of Jay-Z?" Yeah, that's funny.
I'm not cleaning more windows for you, Mike.
No, there's so many.
Hard to clean nipple grease off a window.
There's so many techniques as an instructor to make your class good, and there's so many techniques, and we're just four freaking clowns. There are some OG guys that have techniques that you're like, oh crap, that's a great idea. Teach it
Yeah.
from the back, on patrol, varying your tempo, varying your volume, the creative use of war stories, etc. All that is like mastery. I make this joke. It's not really a joke. It's kind of like a thing about our good friend Mike Callan.
Mm-hmm.
And there's like 4 levels of like proficiency in teaching. It's like shit, you don't know, you don't know. Then it's like you don't know that you suck, and then you know that you suck, and then you know what you don't know. It's basically you get to a point where you're in a flow and you give it over and over. And I use Mike Callan as the example. I'm like, Mike Callan giving that street smart chemistry is flawless. He's giving it thousands of times over 30 years. And he is a stage 4 instructor in that topic. If I told him, tell me about how to fix a dishwasher, he's a 1 instructor. He doesn't know the content, doesn't know all the jokes and all the other. So anybody that gets to the point of like a level 3 where you're like, I understand I suck and I'm conscious of it and I'm fixing problems, that's where you're going to live. I'm telling you, 99.9% of you out there are going to be living there. Very, very few of you get to the level 4. I don't think any of us got there because there's one topic you're a level 4 at. And if you change topics, you're back down here.
Right.
So,
yeah. Listen, go ahead, Jay-Z.
Oh, I was just going to say, no, go ahead. Finish your thought. I was just going to say something for the people out there that want to become instructor. Go ahead, though.
Please.
Yeah, mine was too. So one of the things that I did to help progress myself as an instructor was really look at improv techniques and also stand-up comedy techniques and how those people, the drills and stuff that they go through to improve their own lecture or their own show, for that matter. For those of you that don't know, you get somebody like Joe Rogan or George Carlin or any stand-up comedian, and before they're out there doing a 1-hour special, they're touring all these little clubs and they're doing the jokes over and over again. They're evaluating their jokes.
Seeing what lands, what don't land.
If I change my tone like this, if my timing is like this, if I say this, how am I reading the room? Blah, 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 blah. So to lend to what Bob was saying, you do something over and over again, you become proficient at it, but you have to get up there and you have to try. You have to bomb sometimes and record your lecture and watch it. You will be amazed for 2 reasons. One, the things that you pick up watching yourself teach, the things that you are like, oh, I don't want to do that. But more importantly,
the uhs, the knows.
Even more importantly, the stuff that goes over great, right? You say something a certain way where you're like, yeah, blah, 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 and you realize the entire room connected with that. Well, that's a line and a tone and an example that you want to keep in your repertoire because you know it worked.
Yep.
So what about the student, or not the student, but the person out there that wants to instruct? And the biggest thing I've heard is, well, I don't want to be subject to people who know more than me. I mean, I've heard that so many times, and they're very frightful about getting up there because they're like, I'm teaching people across, that have way more experience than me. Yeah. What would you say to them? I know what I've said to them, in a way, but what do you guys think about that?
One, nobody's an expert. And if somebody says they're an expert, you run the other way as fast as you can. 2, revert back to number 1. And 3, you know what? You might have somebody that's a PhD in gabagoo. I don't know what. But you know what? Everybody has something to offer. Nobody knows it all.
I think you use that moment as the ability to teach to your upper third, right? So if you're teaching the people that are expert or really knowledgeable in the field, now's your opportunity to do your shtick, do your show, do your lesson, and then develop and then get feedback from the people who are better than you, from the people that are experts in the field, and be like, listen, I know you guys know a lot of this stuff. Please, how could I improve? What could I have done better? What information wasn't so accurate? What information was accurate? Help me get to that level, to the next level up. And if you can approach an experts class like that, where you know the people in the audience have a high level of knowledge, then you can walk away. You can walk away from that class having gained something.
And those people, just to make a point, those people that are experts, or again, I don't like using that term, but are subject matter whatever's, if truly they want to help you, that's the one I would seek out, not the one I know more than you.
Right.
The ones they will volunteer to come up and go, hey man, maybe this, maybe that, whatever. That's the person I'm going to seek out for help.
I think I would also add that, these people that think that they're teaching to people who know more than them, that's actually probably not true.
No.
As long as you do your research and you know your subject, and you may throw out some stuff there that even somebody that considers themselves an expert are like, wow, I didn't really know that. But I think you got to get over the hump of thinking that everybody knows more than you. It's like, if you do your research, you have a decent class, and you can back up everything you put out there, I think you're a winner. I think you can build on that, just like you guys are saying.
Yeah, because trust me, people are stupid.
Your thing with the research, like if I gave the same exact duplicate slide deck to all four of us, it would be a completely different show, because your experiences and your presentation style makes a different show, right? And so my tip would be, please don't think that you're going to walk out there for your first show and start commanding a presence or money or notoriety or whatever it is in the beginning. I mean this, and I mean this literally. I hate using that fucking word, but I'm going to use it right now. In the beginning, you literally may be paying to speak.
Yep.
You actually may be going to places and say, please let me speak. And they're like, yeah, it's going to be $30. And you're like, okay, here's your $30. I'm going to go up on the, you might be doing that. And eventually it's going to get to, because right now I'm talking to a brand new presenter that's getting his feet wet on the circuit. And he's like, how much do I charge? And I told him $1. I make because it doesn't matter the money. But eventually you're going to take that $1 and you're going to get to the point where they wet their whistle with you, that you're the opener, and then you're the mid act, and then you're the closer. Yep. And eventually there are people in our field, in Hazmat, that are finishing a show for over $10,000 for 90 minutes. That's a sizable nut. And so if you get to that point where you're pulling Jedi-like money down like that, that's not because you just figured this out last week. It's because you have 10,000 occurrences of you delivering a show, a presentation, a technique, over and over and over. It doesn't come because you're good naturally or otherwise. It comes because you are freaking polished and practiced. Right. That's why you're making the money.
Yeah. We could literally go on about this for 8 hours.
Oh my God, I can do this.
Oh, yeah.
Seriously.
I think
literally
we do in some respects. We will absolutely do a class on this. Anyway.
Yeah. That was a great show. 47 minutes, 52 seconds, as per my Swatch watch, for any of you that remember that from the mid-90s.
Synchronized swatches?
Yeah. Well, with all that said, it was a great show, and I'm looking forward to seeing you guys next month. And until then, we'll see.